All right, we're live. Hey, Zach, this is Josh Peak, but we're with the OKUSA. And what we're doing today is we're going to talk about some updates that we wanted to get out. We've talked about this for the last couple of weeks in some of our interviews. And what we want to do is get updates out at least weekly. And so today, again, we have Chairman Zach Randall. Zach, let's talk a little bit today about the fundraisers that we have coming up. That's some big news.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. Our boards and our organization, we've been working really hard together to put together some possible fundraising. And I think right now it's probably more vital than ever, that we help try to raise some funds for wrestling, especially with the real possibility that, USA Oklahoma wrestling may have to come in and really help out, the high school season this year and the junior high season. And I hope that's not the case. I mean, I can tell you that I know like those folks at the Oklahoma Secondary School Activity Association, Todd and those guys, they're working so hard to try to help all the sports happen. There's some really great people over there and they're really trying hard. But if if it just comes down to an issue where the schools can't have wrestling, then we're going to have to step up and make wrestling happen for our kids this year. I made a promise to my kids when we were talking about this, and then I carried that promise over to everybody as a leader in USA Oklahoma Wrestling that we will have our state championships in wrestling this year, no matter what. And so, if that is outside the school system, what that's going to look like is there's a lot of funding and working together, from everybody to try to make that happen. We have created a COVID response organization with Ford. He's one of our board members. He's a high school wrestling coach at Piedmont to start, engaging and talking with the high school wrestling coaches. So if we do need to, step in and help and do something to help that happen, that we can. But again, the foundation of all that will be funding. We'll have to get off school site, training facilities and off school site event, places for our athletes to wrestle in and compete in. And so I'm optimistic that if it does happen in the school system, we'll be able to get and keep wrestling going. But we thought we might get a jump on it and start, doing some fundraising. We are truly, a not-for-profit. USA Oklahoma Wrestling is a nonprofit organization. I always like to tell everybody something that makes me really proud to be part of that organization is that there's not one person that gets $1, not 1 cent from any of their participation in this organization. You've done a lot of work for USA Oklahoma Wrestling, and so many people have, and so I still pay full price for my kids to go to Fargo and the duels and everything. It's just purely driven off of that love of the sport and trying to help our families, develop wrestling in our state, and so. We really have 3 things going on that, and we're going to really try to push this information out, and we try to make it fun. The first thing we're going to have on October 3rd is a golf scramble. A lot of organizations do golf scrambles, and I think it's a great way to kind of bring people together, and especially people like golf, and even people who don't like golf and like sitting out on a beautiful golf course talking, and socializing with friends. And so that's the very first fundraiser event we're going to have. And by the way, we're going to send emails out to every club and every member this week with all flyers about all this information as well.
Cool.
Attached to that golf scramble, we're actually going to have it'll be our first golf scramble, but it'll also be our first annual awards banquet in which we're going to try to recognize, outstanding folks. All our folks are outstanding, but maybe, try to recognize some outstanding folks in the areas of wrestling and officiating and coaching and volunteering. I'm super excited about this because I think honoring people and showing appreciation for their efforts, in an organization, especially a not-for-profit organization where everybody's volunteering their time for free, is super important. And I'm excited about that. I think kids and coaches and people get excited about that. And we're going to create a voting system where the clubs get to vote for the person they feel like is the person that should get that award. So it'll be truly an award that's designed to be given by the people, kind of for the people. And the last thing that this is the funnest thing. I'm kind of excited about this. I hope it kind of works out the way we want. We've started some GoFund accounts. And what we're really trying to do is trying to get people kind of excited about, donating, but also kind of showing a little bit of their history and, where they're connected and stuff like that. The really cool thing about Oklahoma wrestling that's really unique, and you go outside of Oklahoma and you ask anybody that's in wrestling about Oklahoma wrestling, they'll tell you this is a very unique state. We have a lot of just incredibly great wrestlers, and we have some really incredible wrestling programs. And so what we've done with our GoFund account is we've created accounts for 4 teams, basically. One of the teams is going to be called Team Cowboy. One of the teams is going to be called Team Sooner. One of the teams is going to be called Team Stars. And one of the teams is going to be called Team Bronco. Now, of course, those names are not connected to any specific universities or anything like that. Those are just separated teams that we thought might, kind of be fun. And so what we're encouraging people to do is to go into those GoFund accounts and pick the team they want to donate to. I went on and actually donated to every one of the teams, even though I wrestled at the University of Oklahoma. I wanted to kind of, I'll just donate to University of Oklahoma, but I thought my position, I've got so many good friends that wrestled, for teams that are Cowboys and Broncos and helped out and coached at, the Stars. And so we really want people to kind of go in there and kind of, you can, when you make your GoFund donation, you can make a little comment, and we're kind of hoping to create some friendly competition. I've been told by a lot of the UCO guys that they're gonna win this competition, and so I said, well, there are a lot of successful business folks from all the colleges, and so it'll be interesting, I think, to see. The fun thing is we're going to give a little award at the banquet about which one of these teams won, and I think it'll be a lot of fun for people to kind of get behind donating that way. And so we hope to see everybody at the golf scramble. If golf's not your thing, definitely make the banquet. It's going to be a brunch before the golf scramble. And if you can't make any of those, get involved in the fundraising on GoFund. It's going to be kind of fun to see people's comments and how people are kind of using social media to get their alums and their friends to donate to certain things.
That's cool. And by the way, if you're watching this, you can ask questions or leave comments in the, if you're watching Facebook. I mean, this is being streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And we'll get questions from each one of those. And then below, if you're watching, you can see the stream of our social media channels where we're going to be putting out information on what Zach's talking about here too. So
yeah, I'm excited about it.
What are some other topics that you want to talk about? Obviously, we got the membership part up on the website now, where people can go and get their membership.
Yeah, we have so many great people in our organization, and you're definitely one of them. I really appreciate you reorganizing that website. I mean, I think now it's so much easier to get membership done. If you guys go and take a look on the website now, you can just right away click on a link. It'll take you right to the membership. So you guys can get your individual USA memberships connected to USA Wrestling that way. It's super easy. We were very lucky, and we talked and we worked together to be able to not have club charter costs again this year. And so it's really great that our clubs can join, our organization free of charge, but it does make it a little bit different for how they're going to sign up. If you'll notice on there is my information, my email. And I'm going to send out a more specific, example of this. But basically, folks are going to be sending me information. That way I can send it to USA Wrestling to activate them. I think some folks have already gone on to the website and they've logged their teams in and paid. Those payments will be refunded to you guys. And so you'll get a refund from them. But from here forward, any club that wants to join USA Wrestling, they just need to email me their information, and the information I need is their organization ID. It should be on their membership portal. If it's a new membership or a renewal, I need the name of their club, the primary contact, the phone, and their email, and the city that they're located in. And again, this information is going to be all posted later as well. But just some of you guys that are jumping on it right now, just realize you'll have to email me your club membership request so I can put it through so that you aren't charged for that. Otherwise, you'll get a refund, but we're trying to prevent people from having to do that. And then if you're just joining, your kids are just joining and stuff like that, and your coaches are joining, just jump on. It's funny. We did all our membership stuff last night. It's cool. It takes a little time because, USA Wrestling's awesome at how it's set up, and you have to do, your safe sport training and your education components to that, which are so vital to keeping kids safe and developing wrestling. And so plan a little bit of time to get those done, and then, it's not just going to hop on and click a button and pay. It's going to be some development, but I think it's so worth it in the long run.
Yeah. Well, they do a good job. It's seamless. And like you said, I mean, the insurance that USA provides, but also then the background checks. I mean, in the society we live in today, we've got to have that. I mean, you have to have a good system like that. And I think USA does a phenomenal job. But yeah, that's up on the website. And then again, share this. If you're watching this, go ahead and share this or tag, your leaders in the comments, or you can share this as well, so everybody's getting to see this. What about let's talk about maybe some progress on the OKUSA and OKWA merger that's been talked about.
Yeah, I'm really excited about what's happening there, and I'll speak to it just a little bit. I know folks want to kind of know what's going on with that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's interesting. The one platform of social media that's exciting is that you can kind of explain things to people versus just sending out an email, and it's something better about communicating that way with folks. But the proposal that is over, that was sent over to OKWA was actually, I don't think a lot of people understand, it was a joint proposal. Like OKWA and USA Wrestling, USA Oklahoma Wrestling, we've been meeting together for like 2 or 3 months, going through all the different scenarios and all the different ways to help take this step towards bringing those groups back together, definitely under one roof to wrestle, not necessarily to be, one organization. I think ultimately it'd be great if we were all, under one organization working together. And I grew up wrestling in OKWA wrestling, and my dad was an OK board member and all that, and so, I mean, that's a part of wrestling that's tradition and history in Oklahoma. We've got to work and preserve, and so I think when people are looking at that, I want to make sure people understand that's not USA Wrestling's like, hey, here's our proposal to you guys, like take it or leave it. It's a joint proposal. Over the last couple of months, that's one thing I've been really impressed with. I've been really impressed with the OKWA leadership. A lot of those folks over there are really working hard to make wrestling better in our state. And their agenda is definitely not about what they think is best or what they want, but about what's best for the kids and the families. And so I really was impressed with that. I mean, I would expect that from, good wrestling people. And so it's definitely, I appreciate, what they're doing. We had people in these meetings all summer driving from Gary, Oklahoma and Marlow, Oklahoma, and just, all over the place to come make that happen. So I realized that, on a proposal like that, that's not going to, there's no way possibly business-wise to hit every issue, that we're going to face. We're going to have to work together and be collaborative like we were for this proposal. And so I feel really good about it. I would say really strongly that absolutely in no way is this proposal have some kind of hidden agenda or something. I mean, to me, that's just completely out of character for both organizations. There's no way that we would try to have a hidden agenda on something like this. It's just we really try to figure out the fairest way to do things and keep things in place. And a lot of times I understand, from a personal standpoint, how people look at things versus an organizational standpoint. Organizationally, I have to make decisions and work with groups of people, which is overall best for the organization may not be personally best for me. You know what I mean? But we've got to make those decisions, I think, to help overall, everybody, the group of people, even if it sometimes means that our personal agendas or feelings have to kind of be put to the side for the better of all. And so that's really what that is. It's like, there are some things there that I don't like also, but we're just going to have to try to keep working together and make it happen. I think just throwing our hands up and saying, the heck with it or forget you guys is just the wrong direction, because really this is about the kids and getting those quality tournaments that they need. And we all know that that youth league wrestling has been broken a little bit the last couple of years. We really need to heal it up and make it better.
Yeah.
One thing I would really say too, I bragged on OKWA's leadership, but I really got to brag on ours too. I don't know if a lot of people understand the process of how we operate as an organization. I'm going to kind of just real quickly talk about that. So when OKWA and our group, first of all, our board decided to send a delegation to there. Like we decided as a board, hey, let's send these folks over. They have the experience, the understanding of wrestling. Obviously, we had, the youth league president, or, our chairman, Sean, who did a crazy good job. That guy is so awesome. He's such a solid guy. We went over there and we worked and we talked with their group. And once we got something down, we then presented it to our youth board. And our youth board looked at the proposal and they gave feedback and input. And then we made changes based off of the entire board's feedback and input. Then after that was done, we presented it to our board. And our board looked at the proposal. They gave their feedback and input, tried to think of every possible solution that could create problems for both organizations, the families, and try to come up with solutions for that. Then we took it back to the youth board after the changes from the board, got their okay, and then got the board's okay before we even went forward. To me, if you think about this, and I don't know, maybe this is not something that a lot of people will think about, but organizationally, we put 28 to 30 people stamp of approval on that proposal. And I'm really proud of our organization. We were unanimous, which means to me a lot as a leader, because I love the idea that everybody got input on something that we needed to correct. And everybody in our organization was on the same page. And most of the OKWA leadership was on the same page too. And I really love that. I mean, that's really what working together is. And it's hard to accomplish that, but I think it's really awesome. And I think it's really important that we, take those steps forward to correcting that. I mean, that being said, I hope that we can, put this thing back together. But if we can't, USA Wrestling, we're going to go forward with our youth season. We're going to do our best to keep helping and developing our athletes. That's what we're all about. We're about wrestling at every level, and we want to improve and help that as much as possible.
It seems like we're getting closer, though. I mean, as far as having an answer one way or the other, I mean, it seems like it's going to be pretty fairly soon, right?
Yeah, what's funny? I mean, anytime you try to, as a CEO of other companies and things that I do, there's always somebody who is like kind of the fly in the ointment, and I don't know sometimes if they're even conscious of the ideas that is probably more about them just, getting, wanting to be heard or recognized versus actually what's best for the group. And so we're going to get through that. I mean, again, I think the reality is this is a joint agreement that we came together on. And, the one thing I would really say, and I really want to, suggest to people, and I think it's, again, really hard to look at big picture stuff, but I really want to encourage people to look at big picture things. I personally love USA Oklahoma Wrestling, and I love USA Wrestling. I think it's an excellent organization. And, a lot of people say, well, what does USA Wrestling do, for us in Oklahoma? I would say USA Wrestling does a lot for us in Oklahoma. And this is why I would say that. I don't know. Most of us that are in the wrestling community know. I mean, there were several years ago, not that long ago, they were getting ready to pull wrestling out of the Olympics.
Yep.
And the organization that went and fought for that stopped that from happening was USA Wrestling. They ponied up everybody. They got everybody together and they fought that fight to keep wrestling alive. Now, people may say, well, how does that matter to me? My kid's not going to wrestle in the Olympics. Let me try to kind of broad stroke how that does matter. Let's say they do take out wrestling out of the Olympics. The next thing they're going to take wrestling out of is colleges, because it makes sense that there's not a level to go to. They take it out of colleges, they're going to take it out of high schools. They take it out of high schools, they're going to take it out of junior highs. They take away junior highs and high schools, there's no youth wrestling.
Yep.
And people say, oh, that never happened. That's crazy. Well, the reality is it's already happened. I don't know. I'm kind of old, so I remember there's a great example of this happening. And it happened, I know a little bit because it happened to my dad. My dad was wrestling in college in Texas. And back in the early 70s, the SEC went in and just canceled all the wrestling programs. And they just shut all wrestling down for the SEC. Well, what followed was the dismantling of wrestling in the southern part of the country. Yep. I mean, even now, it's difficult to find, wrestling, and wrestling's not as available in states like Alabama and some of those southern states. And so we've seen this happen. Well, USA Wrestling championed stopping that. Now, there's been some great states like Texas and great states like Georgia. They have awesome people in there working to kind of bring wrestling back up. But there was a time when there was hardly any wrestling down south. And I think that has directly to do with that. And USA stopped that. And also, too, like if you think about USA Wrestling as an organization, like I have a passion for wrestling in all areas. And women's wrestling, since I've had the opportunity to coach that and be around women athletes, USA Wrestling basically made that movement happen. You know what I mean? I mean, they created women's wrestling in our country. I mean, it was created by them. And so, just for me personally, if I have to pay $10 more for a membership that goes to an organization that's keeping wrestling alive and giving opportunities to women and creating equality for our family, the personal choice is that's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know $10 is a lot of money to working families. Trust me. I grew up, with a dad as a coach, and I understand funds are tight, but I mean, it's important that we keep wrestling alive at the highest levels. My kids think it's cool that they have the same USA Wrestling card that an Olympic champion has.
Yeah.
It's the same card. It's the same membership, I mean, can you imagine if the NFL had Little League? That's what USA Wrestling is, basically, is our NFL. And we have Little League. And so, to me, it's a great organization. I think it's worthy of our support.
I do too. I've just never seen the memberships. I mean, and I understand there's people that have multiple kids, so I get that part too, but I understand the vision. I understand where the funds are going. And you see guys, once a kid gets to go to the Olympic Training Center or gets to train at a place like that, they realize that it's a possibility then that they can reach a higher level. It's huge,
Huge. Well, and we've kind of isolated ourselves. I mean, USA Wrestling is not freestyle and Greco wrestling. I think that's a mistake a lot of Oklahomans make. They have a huge folk style organization. In fact, there's really cool tournaments. We've gone to a lot of them around the country that are all USA Wrestling tournaments. You go outside of Oklahoma and you're going to find there's a lot of folk style USA Wrestling. And so, I mean, it's a cool organization. I don't think that they're shady or hurtful or trying to do anything but help wrestling, and help give, young athletes and people the opportunity, man.
Well, speaking of that, we have the preseason nationals coming up fairly soon. That's a USA Wrestling event. I think that everybody in Oklahoma should try to attend. It's in Des Moines, Iowa. So you can go to the USA website and check that out. But that tournament's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go to a national tournament for USA Wrestling, it's usually a pretty tough tournament. You're going to get some great competition, and I think that's kind of such a cool thing about developing, a young person, is letting them have those kind of experiences where they're competing against everybody in the country. That's pretty awesome.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. We're going to continue to keep doing this. We got, you and I have talked about some people we're going to be interviewing in the next few weeks, as well as maybe some people that that'd be tied to this golf tournament as well from different colleges. That would be fun.
Yeah, I'm going to challenge, kind of throw out the gauntlet. Let's see Team Cowboy, Team Sooner, Team Stars, or Team Bronco. Let's see who's got the love for wrestling in the state of Oklahoma. Who loves wrestling? Let's see who's got it, baby.
Well, and that's another thing. So in the comment section, if you know someone that you'd like interviewed from University of Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, University of Central Oklahoma, and then OCU, right? Mm-hmm. If you know anybody in those that are alumni or whatever that you'd want interviewed, put it in the comment section or private message us, and we'll start putting that on the list. But we have it. That's a beautiful part about Oklahoma. We have so many people, such a pedigree. We'll never run out of content of people to talk to. I mean, really,
that is true. You need to get me off and get some of these folks on here. So,
well, I appreciate you coming and doing the updates. That's huge. I think we don't see that a whole lot in other, across the country. And I think we wanted to do that here in Oklahoma, and I think it's huge. So I appreciate you taking time to do that as a chairman. So we'll be putting the flyers out on the golf tournament as well, sending an email out to everybody as well. So that is coming.
All right. Well, thanks so much again, Josh. And thanks for all the wrestling families out there in Oklahoma. Stay positive. Wrestling's going to happen, guys. We're going to make it happen. We got to work together. And to all our OKWA brothers and sisters, let's bring this thing together, work together, and make wrestling beautiful again. Let's do it.
You bet. All right. Thanks, guys.